Hello, and thank you so much for joining me as I kick off a brand new series, the You Tell Me series. I'm so pumped about this one. It's going to be very different than anything else that is on my channel. So, thank you so much for checking it out. I also want to give a shout out to you guys for the incredible support I got on my first two videos. I had not only a lot more views than I've had with anything else on my channel as I'm rebooting it here, but a ton of comments, like a ton of feedback that I really, really loved, all constructive, all really positive. My first two videos back were one that was 5 things that WWE could do a little bit stronger through a business and marketing lens. And the second was the same thing with AEW. So we're going to keep that series going because it seemed like you guys really liked it. Loved reading your comments, love the feedback that I got. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Couple of reminders on this. If you could leave a thumbs up, that goes a long way in helping people discover me. It would mean so much if you would do that. And if you could hit that subscribe button. I'm not going to like, share, subscribe you guys to death, but if you could, it does go a long way in helping me out. Already past that 1,000 subscriber benchmark for monetization, closing in on watch hours. So your support means so much to me as a creator, but this series is a lot different. This series is going to be a little bit more interactive and a little less analytical. I'm asking you guys questions on social media and I'm kind of recapping and going through your responses. And we start off strong here as we look at fictional venues that you guys would want to see wrestling in. So let's dive in because we've got Matt, who's an incredible bassist, by the way, suggesting the McCallister House, and I absolutely love this. Super timely for the holidays, right on point. I asked this question a while ago, but resurfacing now, I love, love, love this call. There's something really fun about bringing wrestling and violence into pristine looking places and venues that it kind of doesn't belong or doesn't fit in. Like I could just see John Moxley bleeding all over the McCallister House. You know what I mean? Just going down those banisters. I think there's so much fun to be had here. And I think wrestling messing up settings that are otherwise pristine is a really fun way to go about business. And the other important part of a venue is how can you use pieces of that venue to cause mischief? And Kevin has given us the blueprint already with Home Alone and Home Alone 2, right? Like there's so many times in the house when he's trying to ward off the web bandits and the sticky bandits that we see him already setting traps. So there's already a really nice foundation in place for people to come in, inhabit the McCallister household. I think this is such a fun shout. Absolutely adore this. Thank you to Matt for this one. But we move on, thanks to the Sci-Fi Center, to Castle Grayskull, which is such a great shout. I love this idea. My only thing is, like, did we already pass our time? Because this is giving Black and Gold NXT for sure. Like, this feels like the kind of venue that Triple H would run at that time. But what I love about this is like you completely know what type of wrestling show you're signing up for just by seeing the outside of it, right? Like you know exactly what you're getting into with Castle Grayskull. Great, great call from the Sci-Fi Center. This like spoke right to my heart. Okay, we got Paddy's Pub, which is not only just perfect for your Philadelphia street brawl, whatever. Like, I think there is so much fun to be had in Paddy's Pub because one, they have that long line of wrestling history, right? I mean, the Birds of War, legendary tag team. And I also think, in addition to like a bar fight, there's so many other stipulations you could do. You could have Charlie work on a pole. Like, that could be something that you have to do. Like, the Charlie work is given to whoever loses the next match, things like that. I think there's so many possibilities for the gang to get in trouble with. Like, Frank has to go back into his coil instead of using a shark cage. Like, let's get innovative here. But you can have your Wells Fargo Center. The Eagles can play in their stadium year round for all I care. This is where it's at. Paddy's Pub for sure. You've got a great stable there already with the gang too. I think there's a lot of fun to be had here at Paddy's Pub. So this one's kind of a duel. We had a response for Tron and for The Matrix. And I love this idea of going into the grid. And the person that recommended The Matrix had said, imagine what it would be like for Ricochet and Will Ospreay to actually have no gravity. I think that's so much fun. I am here for that. Like I love these idea of minimalistic but futuristic places to take wrestling that are elusive and don't really exist but kind of exist in concept. I'm all for this. I think you could really have some fun, like choose your own adventure stuff with matches in the Matrix. Like, imagine there was a tournament and you could move further into the Tron system with matches that you've won. Thank you to Rye Lambert for this one. Adore it. All right, so it's kind of like a well-known joke that I am not the most well-versed when it comes to The Simpsons, okay? But Springfield, Ohio popping up doesn't surprise me here. Shout out to Mike Peterson for this one. Pretty good dude considering as a Red Sox fan, I gotta say. But I can't fully speak to this. I do know about Moe's Bar in Springfield. I don't know a ton about other Simpsons lore, but I just have to assume this is a perfectly cromulent place to hold a wrestling match. Tons of possibilities to be explored within it too. I feel like you could run a whole residency of shows all over the Simpsons verse in Springfield for sure. So Asgard is one that came up a few times, but we're going with Saraya Saber's suggestion of the Rainbow Bridge as the entrance. Now, admittedly, this is not my wheelhouse, but a couple things. Saraya is awesome. Give them a follow. I love Saraya. I love her approach to social media, and she's a fantastic wrestler. So go check her out. But I also love her shout out to the Rainbow Bridge because who doesn't want to come down that? Who doesn't want to see Pretty Deadly coming down the Rainbow Bridge? Who doesn't want to see Willow Nightingale coming down the Rainbow Bridge? And look at the possibilities of Asgard itself. Like, I feel like, I mean, Darby Allin's jumping off of stuff. I can see where Jeff Hardy's jumping off of stuff. Kevin Owens is definitely doing a senton somewhere. Like, so many possibilities in Asgard here for all of this. Even though it's not like the thing I'm most familiar with, I can tell that there are endless possibilities of what to do in Asgard. So Central Perk from Friends. Now, this suggestion, I gotta say, underrated, and some of it relies on the cast. We're gonna get into it, but here at Central Perk, I think your eye automatically goes to that center area where they all sat all the time. But if you look to the right, that pole is just begging for someone to get busted open on. Like, someone's gonna go flying into that. Kevin Owens is sending Randy Orton into that. Like, no way that Mox isn't getting busted open on that at some point. I think there's a lot more to be had than people realize, both in the counter space and that back right area. Chairs obviously could come into play, but like a coffee house street fight, I think is a way you could go here. The biggest thing, you got Gunther there. Like, if there's anybody in sitcom history that should be a special guest referee, he's got a vested interest already in Ross losing because he's in love with Rachel, has a vested interest in Rachel winning. So I think there's a lot of strong possibilities with Gunther, the guy that kind of runs the place, manipulating certain circumstances as a special guest referee for sure. But could this be any more perfect for a wrestling show? I think not. Now, Bikini Bottom, love this from Jeremy Michaels for a few reasons. One, back to back right here, right? You've got two homes. This is very like, it could be very in your house. Could almost be War Games-ish, or at WrestleMania when they had the two different venues going at once. These are just much closer together. But I really like where we're starting off with Bikini Bottom with our neighbors. What better way to start a feud than to have two neighbors that have an issue with each other? Where are the property lines in Bikini Bottom? Like, we could be starting off a hot feud here, but this is where the magic really happens in Bikini Bottom for me. I think the Krusty Krab has everything you want because you know Jeff Jarrett's going to be going for that street fight at the Krusty Krab. You know it's going to get messy. You know everybody's going to want to find out the secret sauce, right? So that could be a stipulation, like that you get revealed the recipe if you win. And also you have Mr. Krabs there as your heel authority manager already. Like, the half the work is done for you here at the Krusty Krab. So I really like that. Somebody to rail against is immediately given to us. But Bikini Bottom for me is sold right on Sandy. Like you just know she's going to do great things for women's wrestling at Bikini Bottom. She doesn't even love the name Bikini Bottom because it's giving her Divas era flashback, but she wants to make the women's wrestling division a better place in Bikini Bottom. She's going to be vocal. She brings a really warm spirit to the whole thing. Sandy is the one that does it for me for Bikini Bottom. Now, the Power Rangers Command Center. This is one that came up a couple times too, and I thank Ricardo for being one of the people to send it in. But while this is kind of minimalist, what I love about it here, one, immediate authority figure, front and center. We know exactly who's running the show, right? The other thing is, I know the top of the card already, right? I've got my Ranger set. So I really like this because I just feel like there's a tremendous amount of clarity right away. You got your two women's rivals if you need them to be. They could also be a women's tag team if you want to bring other people in. You know what you're looking at. You know where your card is. Love this suggestion from Ricardo. Thank you so much. Now, the Temple of Doom. Man, if I said Castle Grayskull was black and gold NXT, this just feels like every Triple H WrestleMania entrance ever, right? I think this is such a fun suggestion. The whole vibe in the Temple of Doom is great. It kind of feels like what all the like underground matches I feel like are supposed to feel like. And I just adore this possibility. There's somewhere for the spectators to watch already. It's already been home to some incredible battles. There's all these ins and outs of the Temple of Doom. And if you want to talk about like the venue coming into play in a real way, you got this guy. You got this guy. So man, that really does that really does look like every Triple H WrestleMania entrance, doesn't it? That's so funny. This next one, also underrated. I love that the Dark Rattler sent this in because Dunder Mifflin, you're thinking it's just an office, but there's so much going on here that can't be underestimated, right? Office supplies, staplers, gonna make for a great death match. Jamming pens and pencils into people. Copiers are a great thing to take a bump off of. And of course, real glass. You want to talk real glass? You've got those two conference rooms and the manager's office. So I think that's a really big strength here. You also have the changing authority figure, right? You have Michael Scott, you have Andy coming into play, you have Robert California, you have Will Ferrell for that really brief time before he got bounced out. So I think there's a lot more going on for Dunder Mifflin than people give it credit for. And on top of that, you've really got a mixed tag division already, right? You've got Angela and Dwight, you've got Jim and Pam, you've got oh my gosh, you've got Aaron and Andy at one point. There's so many. You got Angela and Andy. They could build a whole feud off of that. So mixed tag division already looking good. Plenty of fodder there. Plenty of authority figures there. I think Dunder Mifflin, an underrated choice. So thank you from the Dark Rattler. And we move on to the Chocolate Factory. Charlie's Chocolate Factory, Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. This is one that was sent in a couple of repeat times as well. I'm looking at that chocolate waterfall, and Darby Allin's already thinking of jumping off of it, right? Like, I see the mushrooms. People are going to be bouncing from place to place on those. But what's underrated here is you already have henchmen in play with the Oompa Loompas. Like, they are asking to be like led by somebody and to do some dirty work. I really feel like they could end up being a key part of this in a way that is so much bigger than the song that they get in the movie and the musical here. But the other part of this is you already kind of have a tragic backstory built in and some beauty. So from the storytelling perspective, also a very strong venue. I love that. Wakanda, by far the most suggested, and I love it. If this is the most technologically advanced country, like set forward by Black people, why not have a Black wrestling show in Wakanda? Let's celebrate the achievements and advancements of Black wrestling in the ultimate venue. Tons of suggestions for this. And I mean, come on. How does that not live up? It has everything you could ever want in a perfect setting for kind of just about anything, but plenty of fun places to go for wrestling. I think it's very easy to fantasy book cards here. I can see Montez Ford doing frog splashes off of several things here. I love this suggestion. I'm glad it was my most frequently suggested one. And closing out strong with a venue so close to my heart is the Muppet Theater. This one got suggested multiple times too. I adore the Muppets. I loved them growing up. I still love them. I watch them as an adult when I need a pocket of relief. My only complaint in this whole venue is there are people that are going into business for themselves, right? We have two hecklers. They're going to be that weekly audience that keeps coming back and is in it for them and not for the show. But I think, you could see wrestlers pop up in that box in a street fight. I think the pit is something that's going to be really underrated and already a great setup here, right? Like you have Kermit the Frog, eternal baby face. He's going to be your John Cena, right? Like I think that's fair. Maybe he has an NWO turn down the line when we get into the movies and stuff, but for the most part, he's going to be who you're building the back of your company on when you go to the Muppet Show. I think Miss Piggy also going to be vocal for that women's division, right? She's going to be a force to be reckoned with. She is not here to play. She's not taking her 3 minutes so that you can have a bathroom break. Like she is going to be the force that we need. And I also just love that we have Dr. Mayhem, right? And you've got Animal here. You've got people that are going to be creating or I'm sorry, Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, excuse me. There's going to be people that can work on themes. So a ton of production value in running the Muppet Show Theater, I think. So some really, really fun suggestions. Guys, I had over 145 responses. So thank you so much for those. This could be a part one. If you guys like it, we'll definitely do a part two. I loved the variety of ones I got. Some that just kind of got left to the wayside. Stuff that maybe just Bob's Burger Alley was one of the ones I didn't get to. There were a few from different video games, which I think could almost be its own video of what video games would you like to see wrestling immersed in. But this was so much fun to put together. Thank you so much for tuning into it. Please do subscribe if you haven't already and leave your thumbs up on the way out. And leave in the comment sections places you would like to see a wrestling show in a fictional venue, or let me know what events you want to run at these venues. Like, is Double or Nothing moving to the Muppet Show Theater? You know what I mean? Like, where are we holding WrestleMania at all these places? Is it WrestleMania as Asgard? That feels like a good fit. So let me know what events you want to run in the venues that I suggested. Stay tuned for more. We have so much fun content coming up. We're going to have our Bizarro booking series debuting early next week, where we take a wrestler that's kind of iconic to one promotion and I asked you guys kind of how they would show up in another promotion that's going to be kind of a subset of this series. We've got our 5 Things series returning toward the end of the month as well. But instead of looking at things that both wrestling promotions in America that are leading the pack right now need to do better at, we're going to talk about the 5 things that they're doing extraordinarily well. So stay tuned. There is so much more on the way, including interviews, more fun kind of offbeat content like this as well. So please leave a thumbs up on your way out. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for the support you've shown me already. We'll see you for the next one.